been in this house for 4 years, just over 4 years, but we only moved one street down. We stay at the end of the street that we used to stay in. And it's quite a long street, that one we used to stay in, so you can't actually see our old house, so it feels different. But it's the same, and one of the nice things is the neighbours and that, and the folk running about. So you're out for a walk or that, you're just coming back and forth for your work and stuff, and there's folk out walking their dogs. Now, I don't have a dog, but I need a bit of fresh air, need all the exercise I can get, and you'll bump into folk for the street you're in just now, as well as the street you used to be in, and then just folk that you generally see in passing. So it's a nice wee kind of sense of community. And I was out the other day, and an older lady that used to stay across the road from us, she's saying, "Oh, how you doing?" I said, "I'm not bad. How's yourself?" He's still the dog's still going strong, and get a wee pat in the head and that. I think it's a wee kind of lab. I'm not sure if it's just, but it's a lovely dog. And she's saying to me, "Is your wife still working at the schools?" I was like, "Aye. She's still at the school." I said, "Is that them away back? I can see the wains going out in the morning." I said, "Aye, that's them back. So that's her holidays, by the way." Aye, it's just, okay, but it's good to get back into a routine now she's away. Did you go away any holidays yourself this year? I see we done the wee village just outside the North York Moors, but nothing too fancy. Because it's her 50th. And, oh, is that I wouldn't have said she was that. I'll tell her you said that. I'll tell her you said that. But I will probably go away later on, maybe down to London or something like that. So we saved a bit. We didn't go away anywhere abroad, but we didn't. You could have been in the Mediterranean. Oh, it was warm. And it was roasting, wasn't it? That heat wave down south. She said, "It's warm enough up here." I said, it is warm enough. I can't handle it up here. You're right. He says, "But I was absolutely roasting down there. I could hardly move. It's too much of the beer." It's like, you've got to enjoy yourself, Alec. You've got to enjoy yourself. I know, I have. You're not hard on yourself. I know, it's just and she said, about the football, you quite like the football. I said, the World Cup was fine, thanks. I did enjoy the World Cup. Argentina getting to the final again. I thought they might win it, but I was quite happy to see Spain winning the World Cup. Thanks very much. No, but do you not go to Ibrox? What is this, a fucking Stasi or something? Eh? This 1960s East Berlin or something like that, 1970s Dresden. Fucking leave me alone. Get your big nose out my eye, hen. Would you mind? But there's dogs shitting around here, by the way. And if I find out it's that mangy mongrel you've got, I'm going to fucking pit down. So I go back into the house and I'm sitting down and I'm thinking, it's good, isn't it? It's good. It's good how you used to go to the football. I get the season ticket, and like me in later years, when I was young, you'd go home and away, all the different games. But later on, I'm quite happy. I've got the season tickets. I go to all the home games, and it's quite exciting. And it's quite exciting when you used to get like 3-4 games in a row at Ibrox when you've got the season ticket, and the fact that they've had to pay for 3 of them, 3 of the 4 games in a row at Ibrox aren't on the season ticket, is because it's League Cup, knockout, and European games, and you'd get a bit snooty sometimes. Oh, get the St Mirren at Ibrox in the League Cup, get that out of the way, in between the big European games under the lights. I'm not quite kind of feeling it that way, to be honest. And my wife's saying to me, "Are you smoking?" I said, "I am fucking smoking." Just didn't do your dad any harm, did it? He smoked like a lum his whole life. And he lived to what, 83, 84, 1983, 1984 season. Fucking pinstripe strip. We're losing like 4 or 5 games in a row there. I never thought I'd see that again. That's what we're doing now. What are you doing tomorrow? Are you going to what are we doing at the fucking hip? Do you have to know everything I'm doing? Do you have to discuss every detail with you? Mind your beeswax. Going to give some of that rosé, and I passed the rosé. She says, "You don't like I'm fucking drinking it now, until you get some." So it's kind of, your mood's kind of variable these days, depending on how Rangers are actually playing. So I thought I'd better come on and do a wee podcast ahead of the game against me and just share the slight things that are slightly troubling. How you doing, folks? This is your FATEC, the Europa League meant to us in our post-2012 history. I think what the League Cup meant to us in our post-Second World War history. I mean, obviously we won the League Cup more than anybody else in Scotland, but we've never won the Europa League or the UEFA Cup before that, but there are competitions that gave us great sustenance. The League Cup, even when Rangers were struggling in maybe the late 70s, early 80s, the first trophy we won, a 66 Scottish Cup final when Jock Stein Celtic started doing really well. The next trophy we won, it was a League Cup under like Willie Waddle, Derek Johnson, 16. It's quite that sustenance. The Europa League, when we returned to the top flight, it wasn't it wasn't going as it should go. It would finish in third the first couple of seasons, the top flight behind Derek McInnes' Aberdeen at one point in time, and then Steven Gerrard. It was taking a while to make us champions again, but the Europa League, we're pushing up through the Europa League, and it was. got a bit of glory back, a bit of self-respect through that sustained and eventually dripped down into our domestic form when we won that league title. So it's quite funny, it's quite ironic, it's quite interesting that we've gone out the Europa League on Thursday night, and now we've got the League Cup. It is like all consolation. There's a possibility that all consolation, present or historic, could be totally removed from us. And the moment that Derek McInnes actually stops our run of competitive losing games at Ibrox with a draw, it's the minute we go into a run of 2 games that we have to win. And we've got the game against St Mirren this weekend that, again, we've got to win over the 90 minutes. Maybe penalties or something, but you've got to win, or else you're out the League Cup as well, and there's no consolation whatsoever. But I'm not worried about it this year. Jagellonia, Debrief and St Mirren preview pod coming to you in association with Jersnet. Check out Jersnet last night, Friday night. Will still be up there on the Jersnet YouTube channel. It was Scott and Stuart, 2 absolute legends. Great debrief and preview pod from those lads, and Jersnet, of course, will be back on live on the Jersnet YouTube channel with the Sunday flagship show tomorrow evening, or Sunday this evening, whenever you're watching this wee podcast of mine after the St Mirren game, 9:30 on the Sunday night. I'm sponsored by that, and I'm also sponsored by Sky Bet. That Sky Bet advert, with Roy Keane, and Roy Keane's such a hard case, isn't he? He's so grim, really, isn't he? He's just so unrelenting. He's got his morals and he stands, but he's doing adverts for absolutely fucking everything, isn't he? Because he's taking the bull in. And all these guys that he's so horrible to, all these fellow pundits that he's so horrible to, he takes a face right off him. That they all seem to be on the adverts with him as well, as if they've got a wee industry going, and they all got on absolutely fine working the guy. But he's on that, him and Big Micah Richards, what a laugh he is, isn't he? Big Micah, he's a laugh and all that, except he's on all these adverts with Roy Keane as well, on the same kind of gang that they're on there, making the moolah by promoting gambling, which is fine if you've got it. I like the drink and all that, and that's something people get addicted to. But that's fine, they're absolutely fine. But that Sky Bet advert where they're going on about the game's back, the game's never gone, the game's back. It's a good angle, it's a very good angle, but it's actually making me look like a total genius, because in Jersnet 3 years ago, remember Jersnet? Yeah, it was Jersnet I'm talking about there. I used to be on Jersnet. I'll be on again soon, hopefully, if I'm allowed. But I was on Jersnet a few years ago, and I was comparing the hysteria about VAR to the hysteria that there must have been when goal nets were first introduced. The fellow that, I think it's the Mersey Tunnel, the guy who designed the Mersey Tunnel, was an architect, but a genius back in the Victorian days. He was an Everton supporter, but it was at a time when Everton were still playing at Anfield. That Everton getting kicked out at Anfield is why Liverpool FC were invented. Let's not get into that. But he's the goal nets. He's at the games with the thing they were doing it on that advert with the balls flying through the goals, and from different angles you couldn't tell if it had gone inside the post or past the post. And how are we going to get past this? Goal nets. You think folk that used to stand behind the goals in the cheap areas of the ground be like, I can't. There's this mesh now in front of me. It's really impairing my view of the goals. It's just it's more about the fact that I said that 3 or 4 years ago on Jersnet, and if I keep getting any better at this podding game, I'm having a go at Danny Röhl. I'm having a go at Danny Röhl talking about how there's all these, but there's too many podders following me. The number of podcasters you get doing stuff about Rangers. I talk about other stuff, Danny. I talk about other stuff. Just you go on your fucking Hawaiian cruise and don't start telling us there's too many. You either hear or you know. You know what I mean? I don't care if the BBC are asking you questions and stuff like that, but I'm actually in danger of getting too good at this podcasting game, because I want to be just an ordinary everyman, kind of normal Rangers podcaster, because I think I had a chance. This is Jersnet, the Jersnet, and I've got on the Fat Egg. This is Fat Egg. In fact, I'm executive produced by Joanna Hogg. That's who's executive producing this podcast you're watching tonight, and I'm hoping that one day I'll get to be on a Joanna Hogg movie, because she gets the ordinary people on, doesn't she? I love Joanna Hogg movies, like Archipelago. There's a chef woman in Archipelago that's in that's actually really good, this thing, because Tom Hiddleston and that is great. It's fucking, I love Joanna Hogg, it's absolutely brilliant. But how am I going to get on one of her films, because she has artists that are quite good. They're normal in terms of being artists, the fella in the exhibition and the fella in Archipelago that's teaching them, the family, and that, how to do the art and all that. I did audition to be the pink, the undercooked guinea fowl on Archipelago in the restaurant scene, but apparently I was too gammon. That's the typecasting, because of the Rangers thing. Folk think I'm too gammon. I didn't get on that. But how you doing? This is don't know what this is I'm trying to do. But my name is Alec Anderson. How does it feel? Pretty fucking bad, actually, to treat me like you do. You treat me like shit, Rangers, when you've laid your hands upon me and booted me in the balls. Thought I was mistaken. I was telling, maybe I've made a mistake here with Derek McInnes. I thought it would be all right up to a certain point. It wouldn't be brilliant, but I thought thought I heard your words. I swore I heard you saying that we're not ready for the Europa League or the Champions League. But you just been in the technical area making sure we couldn't get on the Euro, as if it was nothing to do. Tell me, how do I feel? I feel awful. I feel devastated. Tell me now, how do I feel? But I think I'm going for St Mirren out. That could be the start of the Derek McInnes era really getting off the ground. And I would just look back on this and laugh and think it was all well worth it. It was all well worth it. How you doing, folks? Fat Egg Podcast here. My name's Alec Anderson, and yeah, this whole mess is about the fact that I feel I might have been too positive in my post-match reaction after the Jagellonia exit, Jagellonia debacle the other night. I think sometimes it's so bad that I just love the fact I've got a chance to share it. You know, I'm obviously I share it with the folk round about, but a lot of them aren't in the mood to talk. You know, the folk round about us. But I've got to kind of put a brave face on it sometimes just to talk about how bad things are. And that, you know, you're communicating. I bumped into who's an absolute legend of this podcast, and that was nice. And I don't know, I was devastated and I was shocked. I think I was more shocked than anything else, and really overheated as well. I was absolutely roasting there. I was roasting at the game. It's into night time, kind of the heat wave, the back end of the heat wave down south, kind of coming up to really make things sticky and just horrible and just generally unpleasant. But I'm just kind of here to reassure you that no, it was awful. I was suffering like hell. I'm not trying to you know, you've got to fool everybody into thinking you're a problem. I've seen some Rangers pods where people are trying to work themselves into the emotion that they think is appropriate. You know, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just kind of reassuring you that it was absolutely awful, because I've been thinking about it this week, and all I can remember is the chandeliers. I've never noticed this before. I've seen it, you know, subliminally you've noticed it, obviously you've seen promotion. I've never been in the Blue Sky Lounge in Argyle House. I've been Bar 72 and all that kind of thing, but I'd never been up since they'd done it up, since they made it proper. I was in the Argyle House sort of back in the day a few times. My sister's 21st. We went for a wee family meal in there before we had the proper big do for her, and we went some other time as well. I've been in there twice when it was Argyle, but this new, the Blue Sky Lounge, never noticed it. I'm sitting in the main stand the other night, and it just, I had this kind of awful feeling, this existential feeling. It's because the football was terrible. It's because I had no faith whatsoever that Rangers were going to do the business. It was the football that I'd watched firsthand in the Hibs game on the Sunday, and watched the previous two competitive games we played live on the telly. No, it's just not happening. This just isn't happening. And I looked down to my right, and symbolically, it's this gantry where it's scaffold, and you'll know it yourself, especially if you're in the main stand, kind of front at Ibrox, or the East Enclosure. It's just tucked in there where they have the TV, you know, the anchors sit in there. Ailey Barber, and that's the bit they'll sit in, the wee screen. You'll see them talking to James McFadden and Chris Boyd and Chris Sutton, that kind of thing. It's like a wee temporary studio thing, but it's just a box that sat on top of some actual scaffolding. You know, but there wasn't even a box on it the other night. It was just the scaffolding, and I'm thinking, this is representative. There's only two cameras there in the main gantry, you know, in front of the Archibald Leach crisscross lattice work at the balcony of the main stand. There's only two actual cameras there, one at each far end, and they don't look that big. That's Rangers TV. It's kind of low rent. It's the in-house TV channel. I think live pictures were being beamed to Poland from that, but it's not. It just felt small time. But in the Europa League qualifiers, that in itself is quite small time. But there was this, the bunting, the tifo, fantastic tifo we had on Sunday before the Hibs game, before our first home league game of the season, and of course that game went totally pear-shaped. And around it, there was, around the main kind of image, you know, the Iron Maiden thing, there was lots of red, white and blue flags. Beautiful. It was a beautiful display last Sunday with the Union Bears, the whole Copland Road, and one of the wee flags, the wee plastic red, white and blue flags, had caught on to the top exposed pole of this scaffolding, and it was just flapping there. in the wind. It didn't look majestic. It didn't look like a proper flag up a flagpole. It just looked like how the game had gone. I'm sitting in the back of the main, no, but at the front of the main stand, and I'm looking over because there was nothing to watch on the pitch. It wasn't happening. And again, there's this feeling, I got it in the St Etienne friendly, which we actually won. Looking over to that corner, the away corner, and the Jagellonia fans are doing their best with their strips, but I mean, they'd never looked. When we play, I've been there when we played Juventus in the Champions League. You're not thinking that's a St Mirren strip. It's both black and they're both wearing Notts County tops, but you're not thinking that's just like St Mirren. You think that's Juventus. There's an essential difference there that goes beyond the make and the back, the cut of the kit, they make it, the types of players that are in it as a thing. But like Celtic and Sporting, like Celtic are a better club in Europe and that than Sporting Club de Portugal. And they wear the green and white hoops, and that's pretty distinctive, green and white hoops. And don't get me wrong, I'm never going to buy a Sporting Club de Portugal top or something. You'll not be seeing any around about Ibrox, but it's not a Celtic top, is it? There's an essential difference there. Just maybe the players that are wearing it, especially wearing it with the black shorts, the kind of traditional home kit of Sporting, they wear it with the black shorts as opposed to the white shorts, and it's at times I actually think it's quite smart. It's quite nice. Like that, for me, I've watched a lot of European football, obviously, but I've got to the point where it's like completely different to the Celtic kit altogether. But Jagellonia Bialystok, that was a Partick Thistle top. That is a Partick Thistle strip, and they looked like Partick Thistle fans the other night, except for the fact they were cheering in victory at the end. Yeah, we've got to find somebody else to slag. We played Queen's Park the last time. We had a fantastic run. The last time we properly represented in the Europa League and ended up getting to the quarter-final, it was only the season before last, when we finished 8th in that group and knew we were going to miss out the knockout playoff round. We get put out of Scottish Cup by Queen's Park. So I've seen Queen's Park fans in there celebrating like hell in that wee away corner at Ibrox. And now I feel as if I've seen Partick Thistle supporters celebrating like hell, and I've certainly seen Celtic supporters in there celebrating like hell in recent years. It's all pretty awful, but there's this kind of essential darkness at the start of this season. I think it's the pinstripe kit is too retro, and it's bad retro because it's a bad period for us as a club, but it's starting to look like a really successful period compared to what we're threatening to do this season or not do. But I felt as if the floodlights in that St Etienne friendly, no, they didn't come on. They didn't come on in the first half, but they were definitely on the other night. A bit later we're into August now as opposed to July when that friendly was played, but it still seemed dark, and all I was looking at was the chandeliers in the Blue Sky Lounge. I'd never noticed them before. The chandeliers, the mock chandeliers they've got in the Blue Sky Lounge, and all the punters are sitting at the front of their wee hospitality boxes pressed up against the glass, but in the back you can see these chandeliers, and I'm thinking, I wish I was in there. Because I'm always starving and I'm always wanting something to eat. I'm always wanting some booze and all that, but it wasn't that. It was just, it'd be nice to be in there because it's a success in there. Everyone's probably, you're getting a guaranteed result. At least you're getting some drink, you're getting some food and all that. And I'm just sitting here going, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I don't want to be anywhere else, but there's a moribund feeling, as Alan Partridge's critics would say, about the way Rangers were playing the other night, and it all felt a bit desperate, a bit depressing. Snagging items. I should have got M on camera. He comes up, he's a regular in the replies here. Maybe he didn't want to be, but M, an absolute diamond on this podcast. Very supportive of the pods. Kept me going a few times over the last few seasons, and he came up to meet us the other night, and I had it on film, but I didn't want to film the fellowship. I should have offered to get you on camera, see if you want to say hello to everybody. And also, I think I just said, but he's a steward, you know, and he's more than a steward. He's certainly more. Not that there's anything wrong with being a steward, and that's a vital job. I feel heart sorry for the stewards. It's a hell of a job they do at Ibrox, but there's definitely different levels of stewarding in him. As seriously does concerts and all that. I think he's organising folk and all that. It's, a class act. I know he looks after himself as well. He puts a lot of work into it. But I should maybe have got him on. But I was dripping sweat all night. It was disgusting. I'm nowhere near as fit as him. So it's too hot. I was too stunned by what is going on. I'm getting too used to setbacks. I think that's the thing as well. My post-match pod embodied the kind of shock that I was feeling, and it articulated the despondency as well, because I don't know, I felt kind of lost doing that, but didn't know what to say. Didn't know what to say. Derek McInnes, his post-match presser, he praised the recruitment team, and this is what something else I'd said in my. It's another snagging item in my post-match reaction pod after the Jagellonia exit. I thought in his pre-match Jagellonia presser, Derek McInnes not giving us any information on where the Driech from PSV transfer was going. He said he didn't know where he was, and he didn't know how much money we'd been offered for. Exactly how much money we'd been offered for Chermiti before he got that injury. A few other things he was saying. I thought, is he actually putting it onto the recruitment? He's putting it onto the recruitment team. Using them as an excuse, hoping the fans start blaming them, as a lot of fans are wanting to. I've seen him. I don't even know what Robbie Thelwell looks like, but some folk have found pictures of him to get the red cross, the red slash through his face. But I thought he was just trying to cover his arse. But he's actually praised the recruitment team in his post-match presser after the game the other night, saying his office is next door to theirs and he knows how hard they're working at it. So that was established. Inability to, something I should have mentioned was their inability to score more than a single goal. I think I did mention that, but the inability to push on when we do score, that is a continuation of something that's been happening at Rangers. It feels like for about 5 years now, we get one goal and we kind of rely on it. We can never get that second goal. That's not true. It does happen, but this season we're scoring exactly one goal in all 4 of our competitive games so far. I feel as if I should maybe put more emphasis on that fact. We've gone out of this tournament despite taking the lead in both legs. What a damning indictment. It only struck me. We scored first in Poland. Right early on in Poland in the first leg, and we've scored first at Ibrox. And we've lost this. We won neither game, we won neither leg, and we have gone out of the Europa League despite taking the lead home and away. It's gutting. It's actually devastating. One goal from a Rangers player from open play in 4 competitive games. That's one that's doing the rounds these days, but it speaks to what kind of state we're in just now. I never saw the formation change at half-time on Thursday night as a cave-in. I just saw it as a kind of continuation of nothing working. People are slagging the fact that Derek McInnes went to a 4-4-2 at half-time when the 3-5-2 had us in the lead at half-time on the night. I feel as if I'll talk about that a bit later on, but what I'd like to say just now is I feel we have to win the league or win the Conference League to make up for the kind of incompetence, this level of incompetence and kind of humiliation. Because make no mistake, for us to drop into the Conference League is a tectonic plate shift in our European self-esteem. And it's seismic, absolutely seismic, and it's absolutely devastating. But maybe when it gets to May next year, we'll all be running about kind of slagging each other for. We might draft in Tav. Remember you wanted to get James Tavernier back and all that. Remember you greeting all that, Alec, and stuff. No, maybe you're worrying after 4 games. I knew we were just taking our time. We were just making sure we were doing it correctly. We'll all go about lying to ourselves and pretending that we're not that worried and everything was going to be okay in May. I don't know. I feel as if it's one of the moments. I remember us losing 5-1 at Parkhead under Advocat, and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst scored our only goal on the night, on the day in that game, and thinking nothing will ever make up for this. Because at that point in time, big scores, big kind of 4-goal victories in Old Firm games had been a rarity for years, for most of my life up until that point. But to lose 5-1 at Parkhead, this is just unbelievable. Nothing will make up for this. And then the next time we went to Parkhead, we won the league. We sealed the league title at Parkhead, beating Celtic 3-0 on the day, and it was the greatest day of my life, obviously, in a domestic situation. So don't give up. You never know, but we made up for it back then. We're in a very different state just now, Rangers, but I feel as if we need only winning the league or winning the Conference, maybe even just getting to the final of the Conference League. We'll not get too fussy. That's the only thing that could make up for what happened the other night, and it's not going to happen. The thing is, Rangers could have won the Conference League, certainly got to the final anyway, under Philippe Clement or Gio or Barry Ferguson, who came in after Clement had got us out the group stage of the season before last. But right now, with the absolute state of this team, the Conference League group stages seem like both a nightmare in terms of the underachievement that they entail for ourselves, and also a fairy tale in terms of ambition, the idea that we're actually going to get there. I mean, Jagellonia, I've just a quick look. I'll do a wee preview pod for the next Thursday's first leg, but you're thinking there'll be a team for Latvia. That's not a big deal, maybe, although a team for Latvia would probably put us out at this moment in time. But they're second in the Czech league. It's just really early doors in the Czech league as well, though. And I looked, and who did they? Oh, they had to play an extra round in Europe. They played somebody in the last round in the Conference League to get to this point, and it was some mob I've never heard of, other for Croatia, or they're second in the Croatian league. Oh, so they've put out somebody that's second in the Croatian league. I feel as if we could get beat by anybody at this point in time. This is a squad game. It is a squad game, football. They keep saying that in modern football, especially a squad game, but I feel it's only a squad. We'll see, it's this squad. It's the entire squad we're seeing all the time. I don't just mean the in-game changes. There's no, what I mean is there's no feeling that you've got like 8 solid starters and maybe another 6 to 8 kind of solid performers who can fight it out with each other for the remaining berths. And when they come on the park, you're thinking, we're fine, we'll be safe. It's just one big kind of mush, simultaneously undersized in quality and overbearing in terms of size, and it's formless, it's shapeless, it's the same thing, and yet there's no detail to it, there's no standouts, there doesn't seem there's a spine to it. It's awful what we're having to endure just now. I feel as if Celtic sold Nygren for exactly £22 million just to have a go. I think that's just trolling us in the transfer market, trolling us on Scottish media. West Ham probably come in there and offered them 21 million, and Celtic, that's fine, but could we just slip you $1 million? Could you just for the sake of the papers and that, could you just, so we'll offer you 22 million? That'd be nice, thanks. We got a £22 million offer in on Galatasaray, 22 million for Chermiti, and it never happened because he got injured 2 minutes later and knocked it. But I feel as if that's what was happening there, because that's what it feels like just now. Everything seems absolutely awful, but we then have big Drew-ish, Kuhaib Drew-ish of PSV Eindhoven. He's at the game the other night. His eyes get injured. He must have injured his eyes watching that rubbish. He probably had a heart attack thinking, I've gone for scoring goals against Liverpool and Napoli and Arsenal, and now I'm going into the Conference League to score goals against Jagellonia if I'm lucky. But the medical fell through. The personal terms had been agreed, but agreed terms with PSV Eindhoven was at 6.5 million, £7 million or something with add-ons, and this was going to be the solution to our left-wing problems. A kind of high-profile, semi-glamorous type of signing for us, the old Moroccan international Druich, but it didn't happen. He was in the stands watching the game the other night. Folk going, how can he be at the stadium and no? And get 6.5 million. Is that the amount they've lost by not going through to the Europa League? Admin 2's on its way. That's obviously why they can't afford them. But it's a medical probably failed his medical. He's in the stands because these things take time. And we're trying to be nice to Phil. We're trying to be hospitable. We think we're going to sign him. Then we've got the results in for the medical and it's just not happening. He also seemed to... I read something, I saw something that he was wanting to go back to Eindhoven to say a proper farewell to the PSV fans. Now, that's nice. It means he's a guy who likes to be loyal to the club he's at. But... we need you now, mate. I don't know if that's caused a bit of uncertainty as well. And PSV are saying they don't know why it's fallen through. As far as they're concerned, he was absolutely fine. They're the sellers. They would say that one careful owner. It was a nun, who only drove to the end of the street and back to go to the shops that had this motor. They're saying they can't understand what the problem is, but I'm quite happy with that. If Rangers have found a problem there, I'm not happy with the fact that we are now short of a decent winger in the left-hand side, who we're hoping was pretty classy, but hopefully we're going to spend that money elsewhere, just directly. I think they should just do like the John Hartson. Remember John Hartson failed his medical? Maybe Celtic are going to go in there. Martin O'Neill Celtic went in and picked him up, didn't they? And he scored for Arsenal in a European final. Did John Hartson? He scored against Liverpool at Anfield in the way to Seville in 2003, didn't he? John Hartson. So the parallels are there. But James Penrice has been signed on loan. Thank fuck. We got him from AEK Athens, another club reminding us of poor kit choices when it comes to Europe. We've got him from AEK Athens for the rest of this season. He's a season-long loan deal, so we'll find out what happens at the end of it. But he's a good. I like Penrice when he was playing against us for the Jambos in particular, and he's he's going to go in at right back, left back. Aye, that's the whole point. He's left back, left because we don't have any left-sided defence. It was 70 odd years we didn't sign a Catholic, and now we seem to have another problem with left-footers. So James Penrice, I'm hoping, is going to go straight into the team tomorrow. But who knows? Maybe he'll fall down some stairs tonight, or something like that, on his way to the toilet. We need top quality replacement for Chermiti. Kevin Kelsey of Venezuela and Portland Timbers, he's rumoured to be coming to. He's somebody we're supposed to be interested in. We've got a list of strikers that we're working through just now, the recruitment team. Perhaps we should just go for Claudio Braga to get him to match up with Shankland again, reignite what happened at Hearts last season. Maybe they can get an understanding going. That's maybe I'm too kind of short-term thinking there. We need centre-halves, need a right back. As far as I'm concerned, Ross McCrory, no good enough, and faintly, it's too early to say he's no good enough. It's too early to call it on anybody, really, because we're obviously still a really disparate squad trying to knit together. But frankly, I think we need a 6 and an 8 instead of the 6 or 8 that we've got in Nico Raskin, who we don't know is going to be here, if he's going to be here beyond September. Another thing I said in my post-match reaction the other night was that he looks like he was trying his best, Nico Raskin, but he looks like somebody whose head doesn't know if he's going to be at the club or not come next month. But it turns out he's an ankle problem as well. But we need. I'm sure he's going to get sold, and we probably need to sell him now to finance other moves. But we just need to know somebody who's going to be consistent enough and will do the bloody business in midfield as well. We need replacements everywhere. We need backup reinforcements everywhere. In mitigation, Derek McInnes is working with a recruitment team who went into the summer prepping for a head coach who liked to play 4-2-2-2. I do think that can explain the delay in getting the reinforcements in on time, at least partially. It should be a highly calibrated skill recruitment, and if they've sat down, it was established after the Falkirk game, as Daniel has been telling the BBC, after the Falkirk game, the last game of last season. He pronounces it funny, so I'll show my total classiness by picking up on that like an absolute moron. Sorry, Danny. But after the Falkirk game, the last game of last season, it was established that that's me, I'm going to be staying here. I'm just going to go away on holiday now. He's away on a cruise to Hawaii, which is very nice when he starts getting the phone calls. But the recruitment team, we've surely had the conversations. Did they not do the old traffic light system, going through all the players that we'd signed and what the recruitment team were wanting to sign when it was Kevin Thelwell and when Patrick Stewart was in charge of it? And we feel as if that's what's done for them, as well as the absolute car crash of recruiting a replacement for Russell Martin and the car crash of recruiting Russell Martin at all. So there's obviously been massive changes, and it's been set up under Danny Röhl's kind of tutelage almost, and then he's left, he's gone. I mean, we've got money in for him, we've got compensation for him, and he wasn't going to leave. He was quite happy to stay at Rangers because he felt as if there was things he could do at Rangers, probably Europe and what have you. It's just something he was saying to the BBC during the week there. But of course, Red Bull Salzburg came in with a good enough offer, and away he went. But Danny is having a go at podcasters. Danny Röhl says too many. Maybe he was having a go. He's saying there's so many podcasters. There's hardly any podcasters. And so I've been to Salzburg, Danny. I've been to Salzburg. I had my camera with me that day, but I'll go next time. Next time I'll go. I'll bring the mic with me. So nobody comes up to him in the street in Salzburg and kind of shakes his hand and all that. And as if that was being nice to you. Coming up to you in the street in Glasgow and shaking your hand and say, "Oh, you're doing all the best, Danny." That was a bit of hassle for you, was it? That's nice to know. That's nice to know. So, but he was saying quite happy with what he was doing at Rangers, but he wanted it to be agreed. He wasn't going to move until it was compensation was sorted out, and that there wasn't a problem for Rangers to let him go. And we didn't think it was at the time. At the time, I didn't feel as if it was. I have a funny feeling this is just a continuation of, as Derek McInnes himself was saying, it's a continuation of how bad things we're going to have to get before we could build ourselves back up. But it has maybe arguably got even worse since Danny Röhl left. But I think the recruitment, I think when you suddenly change the plan, I know it was like 3 months ago, we should have known that Röhl was leaving. We should have been prepared for that. They should just have a list of players. Doesn't he go? No, they need to work to a certain profile, and Derek McInnes is going to play a different system. So I can imagine that being a bit of a problem there. But Derek McInnes was backing up the recruitment team the other time. St Mirren going into this game as favourites, I think. And not just because they're the holders, not just because they're joint top of the Premiership just now. I mean, this is the top six against bottom six. It's no us. We're not the top six team. And I don't think it's because they've got no European games either side of this game as we have. It's because Rangers are on the worst run in everything, perhaps, ever. 1 win in 9 competitive games, and that wasn't really a competitive game, that game against Falkirk at the end of last season. Is this the worst it's ever been? That's what I was thinking this the other day, just when I had a chance to kind of calm down from the events of Thursday nights. Is this the worst it has ever been? We're watching, enduring a kind of a generational type of pain, I think, here. It's a kind of consistency of inconsistency. 4 straight losses in the league we had last season. That was a spell. I mean, more than that, we lost more than that, but to have 4 straight losses at the point we did was something else. We had 7 straight losses in Europe last season. We went 9 successive games in Europe without a win. That draw with Braga broke that up, but we eventually, with Ludogorets, we beat them, and we hadn't won any of the 9 matches before that in European competition in the same season. Derek McInnes is correct to say that this has been happening, basically this underperforming in all competitions. It's been happening since last season, even if the performances are far more bitty under him than under Russell Martin and Danny Röhl. However, as fans, as Rangers fans, it's a singular situation. I think at one point from your first 2 kind of Premiership games and a narrow exit from the Europa League qualifiers is hardly as bad as actually winning all, but we drew 3 games, I think. We nearly won League One, the Scottish League One, with a 100% record, and we got to all the way to the final of the Challenge Cup, which we lost after just extra time. Took the extra time. A team from a higher division beat us just after extra time. So as badly as we're doing already this season, it's still better than just being in the lower leagues at all. But I feel as if, in terms of the sheer lack of good results, the relentless persistence of negative results, Rangers failing to win again and again and again. Like 1 win in our last 9 competitive matches. It ties up with the 3 trophies in 15 years perfectly. To be just another kind of sick twist in the post-2012 theme, yet another kind of dark variation in the ways in which we kind of hurt and suffer on our way back to what we want, on our way back to retaining league titles and things like that. So many amazing highs along the way. There's no doubt about that. With so many amazing highs, including easily the best Scottish run in Europe of the 21st century, as far as I'm concerned. But it always comes back to us hitting. It always comes back to us hitting a low to pay for it. It's no totally inconsistent with our club's history. I mean, I was following us regularly in the kind of late 70s to early 80s, especially early 80s to mid 80s, when I started going every week, when I was properly coming into my teenage years and falling head over heels in love with Rangers, a team I just supported basically before that, but then you kind of properly fall in love with them, and we were awful back then. We really were terrible. But what it is just now is a strange combination of everything we thought we really needed arriving in the shape of the 49ers, that 49ers takeover, but the arse absolutely falling out of everything. I mean, we've got this money, we've got these owners that are totally minted, and yet it's just a temporary thing. But it keeps happening, and we're going out of competitions now. But and every run or good result we get is being paid back double. Every good run, we did really well under Danny Röhl at times last season, and we had fantastic performances, like the 2 Chermiti goals in the first half against Celtic in that league game. Everything that is good has been paid back double in terms of complete collapses and unprecedented poor runs, having simultaneously seemed as if we're on the cusp of the full restoration back in April. It's totally incredible. It's what we're going through just now. It's really interesting. It's a great time to be a Rangers fan. You're earning your stripes, and when you get back to the boring old win the league, retain the league, finish second in the league, win the league kind of routine, it'll be great to say that you live through all this, but it's absolutely singular in terms of life as a Rangers supporter. It must be. It must be a unique. I know we've had terrible times before, 9 years without winning the title in the 60s into the 70s, and then, that again, we didn't even really care. The fact that Celtic were heading for 10 in a row when it came to what had happened to us, what allowed that to happen post-2012. But this just feels as if just now everything's set up. We seem to have got the ownership. We're just in the Conference League Europa League quarter-final just the season before last. Now we've got loads of money, and we should get even better players in. It's gone the other way. It's so much so the way it keeps going backwards when we've got so much money that it does feel like the prologue to real sustained success. But by God, what a moment it is to be a Bluenose. I'm going to start doing my post-match. Every time I do a post-match reaction pod, and it's a pleasure to do these, boys. I love it. I love sharing it. It's actually more vital, I think, when we get beat to do the podcasts. That's because you need to get it off your chest. You need to share it with people, and it definitely helps. And I'm grateful to everybody who listens to the pods, but I think I might start doing them in like a foreign accent. I'll do a French accent on Sunday, and maybe try not like Joey and Friends, just try and I'll try a shit French accent, try a German accent, maybe on Thursday night when Jagellonia beat us at Ibrox. I'll start wearing the disguise. It's something to vary it, because it's just me coming on these pods going, that was shite. It was shite again. But obviously, it's going to turn around soon. Yeah, not so far. I think we need to stick by the general feeling of last Sunday night after the loss to Hibs, that we may have to go backwards before we can go forwards. That was the mature response after Hibs did us at home. And of course, most of us, me included, felt that hiring Derek McInnes was a sideways step. The subtext was, we're foregoing European ambitions in order to win the domestic silverware again. Well, are you not entertained? We're certainly foregoing the European ambitions, but Danny Röhl was doing zilch in Europe either, let's be honest. Both he and Derek McInnes' nascent kind of reign make Russell Martin's European results look okay. They don't. Losing 6-0 to Bruges, it wasn't okay, but the results, he only lost his first 2 Europa League group stages, but he had 3 European wins under his belt. He put 2 clubs out the Champions League qualifiers, big clubs that you've seen in the Champions League, Panathinaikos and Victoria Pilsen. Did Russell Martin. No wonder he got that Leicester job. But we're now about to play in our 3rd European competition in the space of a year, and we've been shitting the other 2 over the last 12 months. It has all gone wildly backwards since Philippe Clement, and we sacked him for incompetence. And it's gone backwards since then. Now we're looking at exiting 2 competitions in the space of 3 days and being out of Europe altogether before the end of the month. The manager, not head coach, because we wanted to go back, he doesn't think we're really ready for the Europa League or the Champions League, and it hurts him to say that. And it hurts me to hear you saying it like that, Derek, from a guy who is arguably responsible for the fact that we're just going out of the Europa League. But we're beating Fenerbahce and Celtic away under Barry Ferguson, pitting 3 past them, both these teams away from home under Barry Ferguson. But we're losing at home at Motherwell and Hibs. We go to a European final, we get into the Champions League group stages, we win the Scottish Cup under Gio, but he can't win the league, and he takes 2 absolute doings at Parkhead. He has to go as well. Philippe Clement wins the League Cup, only Rangers manager to win his League Cup since Walter, and he takes us to the top of the league a couple of times. He gets top of the league, and he had us going toe-to-toe with Man United at Old Trafford, Benfica in the Stadio de Luz, and winning at Nice, winning at Real Betis, winning at Malmo. But he lost the Scottish Cup to Queen's Park. He went out the Scottish Cup to Queen's Park, and he couldn't win the league. So maybe this is the way to go. Maybe this is the way to go, to get everything so bad. Absolutely get everything wrong. Everything on a level. So the foundations are even. Foundations have got to be even before you can build anything on top of them, I'm told. And it's if we're shit in all competitions, we're going out of all competitions, and then we're crap in the league. Maybe that's letting us build the foundations. These previous managers kept getting stuff right, and that really ruined. It was too uneven. Derek gets it. Derek McInnes, that's the one thing. Dell, he gets it. That was him getting the job. But he was certainly talking in his post-match presser like the boys that sit around me in the main stand. Yeah, we're just not ready for the Europa League and the Champions League, and I think the fans just need to see something to get behind. somebody asked him what it was the fans need. The fans going to get on your back and we put a bit of pressure on them. The fans are booing at the end, and the one thing I will say is, it wasn't serious booing. It's no, we've heard proper booing as Rangers fans over the last few years, and that hasn't been up there. The Hibs game was just almost like a cough, and then Thursday night it was kind of boo, I'm away here. It didn't really strike home on the boo-ometer, but when he was asked about that, he talked about it as if he's in the stand, as if he's not really getting to do what's happening in the park. The fans just need to see something to get behind. They should be seeing a better performance, and we're working hard towards giving them that. I mean, I'm not. So it might sound sarcastic here. I'm not being bitter at all, because it's nice the way Derek McInnes talks. He definitely does get it. We just need a bit of help. He's saying we just need a bit of help, and I don't know if he meant from the recruitment or from the fans. But he's never once, to be fair to him, he's no asked the fans to get behind the team or whatever. He was talking about Ibrox being 50,000 strong against Jagellonia, what an atmosphere it's going to be, and it wasn't. There's two blocks. There was a block and three quarters in both the top of the Brimlin and the bottom of the Brimlin that were almost completely sealed off. There's a trickle of people around about the edges, but they were almost completely empty. And there's empty seats dotted about the stadium. Not too many. I don't know what the official crowd was. It'll certainly be over the 40,000 mark, but it wasn't a jump in Ibrox. It was kind of depressing, as I say. I'm looking at the chandeliers up in the Blue Sky Lounge, but he said we need a bit of help, and I don't know if that was as close as we're going to get to him saying, could the fans get behind us? He treads the line between describing Jagellonia's goals if it's something that's nothing to do with him, but also because he's naming the stands while he's got. I mean, this ball's gone for the Copeland Road up to the Brimlin Road, says Derek, without anybody stopping it, and nobody's fouled anybody, and that's fine. It was he's honestly diagnosing the goal. He's not trying to make any excuses. He's just saying why it went in and why it was terrible, why Jagellonia were allowed to equalise. But it's kind of between, this is a guy who knows Rangers inside out, and selling it to us that he knows Rangers inside out, and that's what's going to get him off with it. But I do find him genuine. I must admit, I think he's kind of genuine. He ruined it by switching formations at half time. This is another an accusation that's been levelled at him by various podders and other Rangers supporters because he changed formation at half time when we were winning. Only winning by a single goal, though. We're still going. I mean, it could go to penalties, obviously, but I think we needed another goal if we're going to be safe in that tie the other night. But from what I saw, we weren't particularly. Because Jagellonia came in the second half and played against 4-4-2 and equalised. But they nearly equalised. From what I saw in the first half, they cut through us in the first half as well. The ball comes back off the post. They hit our post, and all round about me in the stand, boys are getting up on their feet, and I'm talking about guys in their 50s and 60s, and they're shouting down to the technical area to say, "Can you not see what's happening at fullback? You can not see." And Derek McInnes is saying that the reason he changed to 4-4-2 in the second half was to let the two to stop being wing backs, so Gassama and Yokota could just get up and concentrate on attacking and being wide men up front almost. I think the problem was, certainly in Yokota's case, by that point he was exhausted because in the first half they were having to be kind of temporary fullback, wing backs, proper wing backs. But it wasn't working either. So he's knackering them and it's not working. And everybody around about me was telling Derek McInnes that it wasn't working. Saying, look at the space we're exposed. Jagellonia just kept hitting the full-back areas because they knew we were playing three centre-halves at the back. So he's resolved that problem, and it's still. He attended to something to a complaint. Not that he should be guided by the Ibrox crowd. That's a bad move for any manager. But I think it's been overblown. I think it's just an easy way to say this is why it didn't work. That's why he's got to go. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst didn't get why a struggling Celtic team at Parkhead was actually more dangerous than a Celtic team that was winning the league when he first went to Parkhead as manager, and he ends up losing 3-0, and then 4-0 the following season to big Angie's Celtic. Philip Clement didn't know why going out the Scottish Cup to Queen's Park was the end. He knew it was bad, but he didn't really get that we took the cups that seriously. It was the press, the media had to tell him, this is bad. You should, for once. I'm like, yeah, get him tilt. This is a sacking offence. He didn't seem to understand that instinctively. Russell Martin didn't want to get us as a support or a club at all, and Danny Röhl wanted to get out with a few more lines for his CV. Derek McInnes gets it. Derek McInnes wants to be here forever. He's always wanted to be here, and he played for a real Rangers team rather than the one Russell Martin played for. They're all real Rangers teams. And we can at least, and maybe at this time in our history, this is the most important factor for any of the architects of our revival, we can at least be guaranteed Derek McInnes knows what we are supposed to be as a club. He knows what he's supposed to provide. He knows how far short we are of that right now, and he knows all our domestic opponents are going to come at us, and he probably knows how they're going to come at us as well. Derek McInnes does get it. He does get it, and it's a point in our time, a point in our history that we're a state of our squad that we were well on the way to before Derek McInnes arrived, and I think we need him. We need this kind of manager who understands the club. I can't believe he doesn't know what to do about it, and I can't believe that he doesn't actually know what's to be done about it. I can believe we're looking at another 3-year rebuild for Rangers with or without Derek, so we might as well have somebody in there, I think, that knows the club and knows the league, because that's how it will start. Although I'm always talking about how Steven Gerrard came in his 3-year rebuild. He went straight into winning in Europe, which is, I mean, Steven Gerrard had won both the Champions League and the Europa League. It was, I think, still the UEFA Cup when he won it, and he scored in both the finals as well. And he never won the league at Liverpool as a player, so that's maybe why that was his speciality. Derek McInnes isn't doing well in Europe or domestically, but I think it's a 3-year rebuild, and I think he will know how it's got to be addressed. We might have won the Scottish League Cup more than any other team in Scotland, but in the last 13 years, St Mirren have won it twice as many times as us. I've said it many a time on here. Perhaps it's because I keep going on about it because I keep going on about it because my partner's not very original, but also it's the fact it was 2012. Such a seminal year for ourselves. That's when Andy Murray loses the Wimbledon men's singles final. I know. Stop. You just fast forward. He loses the men's Wimbledon, the All England Tennis Club actual Wimbledon men's singles final to Federer. It's his first time reaching the Wimbledon final, and then and he's gutted and he has to cry for the media, because they're idiots. But then, just a few weeks later, he wins the Olympics. He wins the Olympics men's singles, beating Federer, and because it's in London, the 2012 Olympics, it's at Wimbledon. They have it, it's different in bunting. I think it was only the first 2 sets in the final, but it's an immediate comeback, and it's a kind of in the exact same court against the exact same player, and that inspires him, and he goes and he wins his first Grand Slam at the end of that year, the US Open, and then the following year he comes back to Wimbledon, he gets to the final and he wins it. He's the first British winner of the men's since Fred Perry. And it's absolutely brilliant. I feel as if that's what we're looking at here. You almost need a kind of a cover, a distraction, if it's something you're striving towards. And there's been a lot of pain, a lot of collective pain, because I remember Tim Henman before that. I remember what was the fella called? Was he Tim as well? Nigel, another really posh English bloke, getting it. It went on for about 3 hours, this game, to get me into the second round in Wimbledon, and my sister and I watching it in the early 80s, jumping up and down, celebrating because it was somebody British had got to a stage of Wimbledon that was actually shown live on the telly. But I'll need to get his name to you. You'll know his name right now. Was that really before Tim Henman, the greatest hope before Tim? But anyway, it was a massive thing. It was really painful, the whole Andy Murray thing, and you'll know the pain round about him. It got a bit twisted, as it always does, with the British press before he was going to be allowed to go and win that. And it's the same with Rangers just now. I know we've won 55 titles before, and basically won over 100 major trophies, European competition, 5 European finals, and that. It's in our blood, but there's been a bit of a clot, if you like, recently. And I think if you end up, you're going to consistently fall over the lust, the fact that it's been so long since you've achieved this thing, that you need to kind of distract yourself from it. And I think a distraction to your own ambitions, and then a kind of plastic trophy to help you truly turn the corner. And with Andy Murray, he suffered the heartache, like us, maybe fucking up in the league last season with those 4 straight losses. After we went into the top 6 the post-split schedule, just a point off the top of the league. He had the heartache of losing his first Wimbledon final to Federer, and then he's come straight back and he hits. He's beat Roger Federer in the Olympics, in the same court and all that, in the same. But it's a different tournament. I think we're so focused right now on not going out of a second competition in the space of 3 days, which isn't the kind of thing Rangers are usually focused on. We're not usually worried about playing St Mirren at Ibrox. You know, we should be. We have been. But we are worried about playing St Mirren. I'll respect it. Let's not wind them up. They've been very, very nasty to us, St Mirren, over recent years, but. Generally speaking, this wouldn't be a massive game, but we might just be desperate enough to be the last team St Mirren, suddenly probably looking overconfident by comparison, will want to play. If we do this on Sunday, we actually beat St Mirren, we can inflate that achievement to, we've eliminated the holders, and that becomes a kind of fake medal. It's the same as winning the League Cup, really, isn't it? Scotland beating England at Wembley in '66. We've beaten the holders in the League Cup. That's basically like we've won the League Cup, and that hopefully will inspire us to actually go and win something, even if it is just the League Cup. If we do win this League Cup, it's Derek McInnes' second major trophy as a manager, and he'll get slagged off because it's the last one was a League Cup as well. He's only kind of guy. He can only win the League Cup. That's all he's capable of doing. But it will suddenly be the first thing we've won twice since 2012, and this is something I have been going on about for a long time because it's something we have to go on about. It's something that just keeps happening or not happening. We win everything once since 2012, and this is. I don't care about other Rangers fans are embarrassed to say this and. They think it's negative and it's holding us back. Well, how much further back do you want to get held than what's happened at the start of this season? We need to come to terms with the fact it's all about 2012. It's psychological. This is why we're wanting to get back. When did we stop winning all these? Look at the trophies we won in like the 4 seasons before 2012. The number of trophies we've won. It's about 15 times as many trophies as we've won since. It's obviously 2012 stupid. So, we're trying to get back to that point in time. We're trying to get back to before 2012 to the numbers of trophies we would win there, and to the fact that we won everything once just seems it's a really weird way of emphasising how different things still remain. But even getting into our time in the lower leagues, we won the 3rd division once. We won it was the 3rd tier, but it had been changed to League One by that point because of the reorganisation that our relegation or reorganisation, if you want to call it, don't call it relegation, like just winding folk up, because what that entailed. But we won League One once, and we failed the first time on the Championship, but we eventually won the Championship once. Even the Challenge Cup, which we're playing in 4 times because we're in the lower leagues, we're starting off the bottom tier. You've played in it 4 times, so we still only managed to win it once, the Challenge Cup, and since then we have won the Scottish Cup once. We've won the top title once. We've won the League Cup once. We have reached a European final once. We have played in the Champions League once. We need to do something twice. We need an achievement. Plenty of failures we've had twice, 3, 4 times in terms of losing finals and failing to win the league and stuff like that. But to win, to win the League Cup, it seems it's horrendous. Aiming so low, like, is that the best? That's probably maybe one of the best things Derek McInnes could do this season. At least we've won something for a second time. As a club, we're back to winning multiple trophies because we've won all 3 of them. You could say we're back to winning multiple trophies, 3, 4 days after we lost the Europa League final. We won the Scottish Cup to add to the previous season's title. A couple of seasons later, we win the League Cup. So we've won all the trophies in Scotland again since 2012. But I don't know. I think it's winning something twice since 2012 would be a major step in the right direction. Unfortunately, Derek McInnes' team needs to impart a huge change of direction on Sunday just to get through this tie. St Mirren, joint top of the league with Celtic, just behind them on goal difference. They're holders of the League Cup. They weren't scintillating getting through the League Cup group stage. Like Neil Lennon, Dunfermline beat them in the group stages of the League Cup this season. But after Craig McLeish kept them up by a single goal aggregate win over Jagellonia Maryhill in last season's promotion relegation playoff, they stuck by. They stuck by the Stephen Robinson replacement. They won the League Cup under Stephen Robinson. Of course, that was Celtic put us at League Cup semi-final last year because Mark O'Neill was manager. Took them into extra time against 10 men. We were only 10 men in the park for most of the game, but they eventually beat us in extra time, and they get to the final against it. And it's a gimme, innit? It's a gimme. But of course, they picked Wilfred Nancy in as manager. He was still there for the final. One of the reasons he's no longer there as manager, Wilfred Nancy, is because he lost the final to St Mirren. St Mirren League Cup final 2009-10. See, we beat them. It was 2010-11. Oh, 2019. Because 2010-11 was when we beat Celtic after extra time. But that was phenomenal, wasn't it? Beating St Mirren with 9 men is probably the greatest. No, it's not the greatest League Cup final. Certainly not for Rangers. No, we're a few absolute classics. But it was. I remember driving to that final and having to wave St Mirren supporters into various lanes on the road going to Hampden because they were so unused to going. I know they won the Scottish Cup there in '87, but at the same time on the radio it was Chick Young going on about how he's a St Mirren supporter. And I did remember thinking to myself, this is a massive day for St Mirren. It's a big day for us as well. But how will we ever play a game against anybody other than Celtic, a cup final against anybody other than Celtic, and we'll be the team that it'll be exciting for us to win it. It'll be a major achievement, as major an achievement. We'll be the fairy tale stuff. We'll go down to 9 men, it's still 0-0, and then winning the thing 1-0 in normal time. That is about as close as we could possibly get to doing that, and it was phenomenal. But St Mirren have won the League Cup twice in the last 13 years. They're the only 2 times they've ever won it. Won 3 Scottish Cups. St Mirren, one of the teams that have won the Scottish Cup and the League Cup in Scotland, but never won the actual league. No, St Johnstone, it's a Saints kind of thing. East Fife, Partick Thistle. There's always somebody I miss out when I do this. But there's these teams that won the League Cup and the Scottish Cup. They've not actually won the league in Scotland. Falkirk and Dunfermline have won one, but no the other. I think the 2 of them. I'm missing somebody out. But that's a good League Cup memory we've got with St Mirren. But they've got this season. They've started off absolutely fantastic. Stephen Robinson was manager. He goes to Aberdeen, kind of leaves them in the lurch. St Mirren, they just avoids relegation under Craig McLeish, who they kind of promote from within the club. And I don't know what's been happening at St Mirren. Apparently he's changed the style of play. I would have expected him to be sacked, and they get in somebody more experienced. But no, and it's been proven a correct decision at the start of this season. They've won both their league games, beaten Falkirk away from home in the first day of the SPFL Premiership, and beaten St Johnstone at Paisley last week, where they had a penalty saved. St Mirren saved a penalty and then scored the only goal of the game with a penalty. And like the 2 goals he scored at Falkirk, that was from Killian Phillips. Killian Phillips, he scored all 3 of their league goals so far. Number 88 he wears for St Mirren. I've seen him playing against us before. I don't know if that's because he couldn't, 80, everybody's trying to get 87 to commemorate St Mirren's Scottish Cup win, and that must have been taken by somebody else, so he just took the next best thing. Or maybe was it 1888? Was that when St Mirren was not 1877? Maybe 77's gone as well, so he's taking the next digit up for the year that St Mirren were formed. I don't know, but he's born in San Diego, Killian Phillips, but he plays at various ages, all the various ages for the Republic of Ireland. They were expecting to lose him before the 3rd of September, one of their better players before the end of the transfer window, but he's still there and he will absolutely be up for it. And St Mirren, they like a Rangers manager as a scalp, and Derek McInnes for a lot of people. This is going to be getting into that kind of situation if we lose this game. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, it was a draw at St Mirren, was his last game as Rangers manager. It's not the reason he was sacked, but losing at home to St Mirren, Philip Clement, that was his last game as a Rangers manager as well. So I don't know what the point of Derek McInnes being sacked if he loses this game. I thought we should have maybe a wee statement from the ownership after the game the other night. I was saying this, things have got so bad, but they're probably hanging on to this. I think if we get the League Cup on Sunday, we'll get a wee statement from the 49ers on the Monday, backing or sacking Derek McInnes. But they were supposed to play in the league next weekend, I think, St Mirren. So they could end up being the team that actually help us towards our first win of the season, either by beating them in the League Cup or by just giving us a break next weekend, so we can get through this game against Jagellonia in the Conference League. Starting 11 for tomorrow. What's the point of trying to guess this? But James Penrice, he's straight in there as long as everything's gone all right with his flight over and stuff like that. And that's all we know, because this is what it's all about. It's like a formless mass of a uniformly mediocre squad, offers no solid core. There's no head of the beast at Rangers. You can't see the body. You can't. You don't. What's the legs? I was talking about Colin Cameron. Colin threw up the Frankenstein. I kind of poorly put together Frankenstein comparison, and I was thinking that myself. Colin, of course, always put it more succinctly in the responses on the posts underneath the feedback underneath my post-match reaction to the Jagellonia game the other night. But there's no kind of clear, solid 8, as I say, or even 5 starters just now beyond our goalkeeper, I think. Even Yokota, who's done well in his first 2 appearances for us, he's probably going to be absolutely knackered from the other night. It's kind of homogeneous are us, homogeneity loyal, this kind of clumsy alloy, a cheap composite that we are just now. A team. We need to be a team. And this Sunday, I think it needs to be more than ever. More than ever. It's always more than this time. More than ever. Need to save the season again. There's only 5 games in, but it's pretty serious. I think Derek McInnes just needs to focus on starting to get consistency, impose a consistency, force a stability on us by just picking guys, 5-6 guys that he's going to play every week until they're sold or whatever. Just get somebody in there, a spine, just get a form, just get a shape about us that's going to slowly eke out, because right now we don't see anything. We don't see anything at all. Pandur is going to be in goal, so I would just try to play as many players as possible who started the game the other night. The first half was better, okay. Get as many of our first half starters, but I would go with Pandur in goals, Dujon Sterling at right back, Penrice at left back, and I'm going to keep Macania and Fernandez. I know Fernandez is getting a lot of slagging, but I've been watching. Sorry, complete the team, Alec. Pandur, Sterling, Macania, Fernandez in the centre of defence, Penrice at left back. One of Raskin and Devlin is just sitting 2. I would put Devlin in there as opposed to Dan Neil, and I'm going to go with Yokota if he's fit to start on the right-hand side, Gassama on the left-hand side, Asgard at 10, and Shankland. That's my starting 11. Pandur in goals, Sterling, Macania, Fernandez and Penrice is your 4 at the back. Raskin and Devlin, you're sitting 2. Yokota, Asgard and Gassama as an attacking 3 behind Lawrence Shankland. Fernandez, I know, was getting a bit of pelters for again, but I was blaming Ross McCrory primarily for the goal, and certainly in the build-up, he seemed to be all over it. He was posted missing as they knocked the ball into the left back berth, but he's been played out of position, of course, at left back, even though he has played there before, Ross McCrory, and he just come into the action with 10 minutes to go. He just come into the action in the second half, but I felt when the ball goes back into that back post area, I was just blaming Ross McCrory and saying that the player had acres of space. And I saw it back on Sky Sports. There's 3 of her, I think Macania, Fernandez and McCrory are all in the area, are all round about this. The big fella who nods in the only goal for Jagellonia, their equaliser. But I don't know. I felt as if they'd acres of space, they'd acres of time. I remember it completely wrong. But Rangers played it completely wrong. Just a general sense of we don't know what we're doing. And Joshua Barry, who's the fella that does the Rangers tactics thing as well? I think he's on the BBC and stuff like that. Oh, I can't remember his name. James, Jack, John. But basic tactical experts, people who actually know what they're talking about. I've been talking about how McInnes, it seems to be, he wants to keep doing the man for man that he liked employing at Hearts, and he's either needing to lighten up on it and turn us into more of a hybrid, where there's certain areas we're going man for man, other ones we're a bit more free, or needs to bin it all together, or needs to just get everybody trained up so they can properly do the man for man. We're having trouble adjusting to this man for man tactic that Derek McInnes likes to employ, and that explains why people are getting pulled all over the place. If suddenly somebody isn't marking properly, their teammates are trying to go in there and do it for them, and it explains why Big Fernandez in particular is getting blamed for it. Well, I mean, falling his arse and stuff like that doesn't help, but I think it's part of a general problem, and when teams score against us, they tend to be going near our goal, and they'll be near our central defenders, so they all look as if they're totally at fault. but they're probably pulled all over the place as well. So I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not hanging anybody out to dry. It's just generally bad just now, and I want to go for stability. So that's my starting 11. We could have signed somebody else, worth £7 million as I'm recording this, and they could be straight into the team as well. Nico Raskin's ankle, that dependent on Raskin's ankle pointed out by the manager. He's having problems with his ankle, and it also explains why he was subbed so early, but round about the time that Jagellonia scored. Or because of James Tavernier at right back. He could be stepping in at right back. Well said, Andy Halliday, his ex-teammate, Tavernier's ex-teammate, who knows a thing or two about getting us through Europa League qualifiers. Maribor, what performance, Andy Halliday. But I'm hoping that's something we'll look back on, as I say, at the end of the season. Remember, we want to get Tav back. It's nice to know that we're appreciating Tav, though. We finally get it. I think it would be a fairly disruptive move in terms of the peace in the dressing room if Tav was to come back in, former captain, whatever. Or maybe it's perfect. He's been away for just long enough for him to accept that he's not going to be captain. And he just comes in and starts scoring goals and stuff like that. But I don't know, is he going to play man for man, Tav, at his age? And I think it's all moved on from Tav. I know that seems pretty brutal, but it's the way it happens. Score prediction, I'm going to say 3-0 to Rangers. Maybe 3-0 on penalties, and it would just like Derek McInnes if the first time that he actually managed to keep a clean sheet is also the first time that he manages us to no goals at all. He's just scored a single goal in every game. If we end up winning anything on penalties, it could be 3-0 in regular time as well, because I think it's going to go to St Mirren's head. I mean, I hope it goes to St Mirren's head. The fact that they've lost all focus, St Mirren, because they're doing too well too soon after their brush with relegation last season, and who knows about undertows like a Rangers supporter, and Rangers are just so awful just now. St Mirren do their best work against us in recent years, and we drew with them once and won the other two games against them last season, and that's good. Of late, that is really good against St Mirren for them not to have beaten us at all, so they probably owe us a doing. But they usually do their best work against us by focusing and raising their game amid a relegation crisis. They're really not enjoying themselves playing all the teams round about them at the bottom end of the table. Along we come, and they have great fun. They have no problem bringing us down to earth. But we're the crisis team this time. We're the ones in the bottom six of the league. And I think that's going to mess with the St Mirren chi. It's going to mess with their chi altogether. Plus, CEO Jimmy G, he'll have some kind of inside information that he'll leave in a brown envelope in the away dressing room around about 2 p.m. Sunday, ahead of the 4 p.m. It's a 4 p.m. kickoff. Make sure have your bloody ticket downloaded onto your phone, folks, because the queues, the QR code always makes it extra busy at turnstiles. But the crowd that's going to be there tomorrow, with the game being live and telly and Rangers being ranked, it's going to be murder. Make sure. So I think Jim Gillespie, former CEO, St Mirren, have coped okay with his departure. But he'll have some inside information on somebody, and maybe leave that in a wee brown envelope in their dressing room just to get the point across. I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about photographs, maybe black and white photographs for the St Mirren colours. And talking of black and white pictures, I know I've been going on recently about my television, my new telly. I keep going on about it because it's a rare positive in my life these days. It's a very easy metaphor and an analogy as well, depends on how I'm going to use it. Seeing everything on a bigger, better screen in super 4K, ultra HD, HDR. I don't really get the technical stuff with the telly. It makes the world suddenly seem so exciting and entertaining to me. I'm watching more art house movies because previously I didn't want to. I couldn't be bothered. I was going to insult them, kind of. I couldn't get the full benefit of movies that critics would recommend to you because my previous television was like, well, it wasn't. The screen was smaller, and it was really bland. It wasn't super HD or whatever, and there was the white spots appearing on the screen because the actual tubes at the back of it were falling out. They were kind of. That's not the metaphor. No, Derek McInnes is a tube. We need to get him out. I just mean it was really bad. I didn't want to watch kind of art house movies on that because it was going to be a total waste. But I'm really enjoying it. It should be how I'm seeing Rangers under a brand new manager. Everything's fantastic. Everything's beautiful. It's a whole new way of living. But unfortunately, all the kind of super shiny Derek McInnes is doing is just creating a more brutal, unforgiving light on the grim reality of the fact that going from the third division to retaining the top tier title under 3 to 4 different ownership regimes is always going to require far more and far deeper a rebuild than you would normally require if you're a team that's been certainly in the top division for your entire history. If you've not been outside the top division, it's more routine for you. It's a constant undertow. We're constantly having to rebuild because it's going to take us forever to dig our way back to the top. But we're out of the art house. One of the art house competitions, I've got subtitled foreign stuff, very cosmopolitan, the old Europa League, and for us now this Sunday, it's STV. It's a bit of Coronation Street, a wee bit of Corrie, because that's our level right now. It's the level Celtic have apparently made Lord over the last decade or so. So we go terrestrial. Europe doesn't really mean anything. That's what the message we've been getting from the mainstream Scottish sports media, and certainly from Celtic fans over most of the last 15 years. And Europe's garbage. It's all about winning the League Cup stuff. That's one of the things they win all the time. So we go terrestrial against our Paisley Road neighbours. Back to the basic SD glory and black and white telly gels. That gantry is probably going to be empty tomorrow as well. The scaffolding gantry where they have the anchor, the W silent for Sky or whoever is covering the game. But in this case, it's because the Premier Sports usually do pitch side, don't they? Usually have Connie McLaughlin on the pitch side with a couple of ex-players, Alan Hutton or whoever, and then they get the manager over pitch side. So they'll be on that gantry, but it's not because there's no. But on Thursday night, it will be. I mean, it's going to be back on Rangers TV. The game against Jagellonia, it's probably going to be busier tomorrow than for our European game. So everything at this moment in time seems to be in black and white. But you can sometimes enjoy black and white stuff as well. Right, folks, I'm away to upload a chicken while I put this pod in the oven for an hour and 40 minutes. What am I talking about here? It's not easy. See, it's not easy, Danny Röhl. It's not easy. You're on your slagging podcasting because you're away in your cruise. You're not even singing on it like Jane McDonald. I've seen Cruising with Jane McDonald. I've listened to the songs of Jane McDonald. And I'll tell you one thing, Danny Röhl, you're no Jane McDonald. I'll talk to you after again tomorrow, folks.